The longer I wore it, the more it grew on me. She had such pretty skin. What the fuck? We found your daughter, the officer said as he drew an X on the map. And then he drew another, and another, and another, and another. Please tell me you get this one because what the fuck? Pizza guy delivered my pizza and said, "Enjoy it, you two." I was just glad I wasn't the only one that saw it. No.
Chatting with strangers on the dark web. Yeah, I said that right. Today we're going to be chatting with some strangers on the dark web. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so I found an article and here's a couple chat rooms we can use. By the way, notice how it says .onion at the end. You actually cannot open .onion on Google and I'll show you. If you paste this into your Safari or something, it actually won't load. But if we paste it on Tor, watch this. Alright, now that we're connected, we can see there's about 195 people on the dark web chatting, and we're just simply going to click random chat.
This is Yama Q, and he has a ghost problem. Yama states his house is haunted after the previous owner died tragically in the tub. Ever since Yama moved in, he's noticed unusual things occurring. It started off with doors shutting, strange banging, and wailing. This to me is the strangest video yet. Yama goes outside and hears moaning. He then quickly walks inside and goes on the offensive. He grabs a boiling pot of water and walks outside where the moaning seems to get louder. This video seriously creeps me out, but what do you guys think?
My dog has been doing the most terrifying things and I have no idea what to do. Please, bear with me. Everyone will probably think I'm crazy, but I couldn't make this shit up. I hope posting this online will be a good start. I'm only 13. I really don't know what to do. My dog Otis is a relatively friendly Belgian Malinois with a tendency to get bitey when he gets nervous. To be honest, I've never really liked him. I don't like to talk about it, but I'm sure you can piece together what happened when a clueless toddler and a nervous Belgian Malinois mix. I've had a scar ever since. A few weeks ago, my parents left me alone with just Otis and a few packs of ramen noodle cups to keep me company. I had my own phone, so I didn't care. I decided to get out my laptop and do a little gaming while I had the opportunity, and I heated a fresh cup of noodles to eat. It was nice to have a little downtime to myself, and that was when I noticed it for the first time. As I booted up the game, in the deafening quiet of a relatively empty
These are the most disturbing torture devices I saw at the Torture Museum in Amsterdam. This device is called the garrote. And again, when I first saw it, it really didn't seem that bad. But then I found out why it's actually been called the harshest execution method of all time. The garrote was used during medieval times, and even later all around the world for punishment, execution, and even as a tool for assassinations. The most recent case I found happened less than 50 years ago in Spain. So how does this device work? The victim is held in place by a collar that's made of iron here but can also be made with wires. It's then tightened all the way, the spike piercing through the victim, supposedly crushing their brainstem. But it didn't always work, because the spike would often miss the brainstem, so it would just be buried in the victim's head until they passed, which allegedly could take over 15 minutes. But we're not done, because there's just a few more torture devices I saw in this museum, so follow to hear all their backstories. If you ever want to wear a wig, don't do what she did. Talia bought a wig one day that didn't fit, but instead of returning it, she did something that quickly became terrifying. She came up with an unusual idea. This was her first mistake. She searched for ways to alter the wig herself. Then she went into her mother's room, took out a sewing kit, and began working. But Talia actually decided to put the wig on first and sew it in front of a mirror. She thought this would make sure the size was perfect. Afterwards, she was actually really satisfied with the result. Then that night, Talia went to take the wig off, but the wig seemed to feel much tighter than before. But she had school early tomorrow, so with one pull, she took the wig off. Then, without looking, she put it in her closet. That night, she woke up to a wet sound ringing in her ear. She tried to go back to sleep, but realized that her dog had come onto her bed. She pet her dog and went back to sleep. It wasn't a big deal. But the next morning, she noticed something strange in her closet. The wig didn't look the way it did before. It was covered in pieces of blood and skin. Then Talia went into the bedroom and turned around. She realized that she had sewn her own scalp into the wig, then ripped it off. In the back of her head, she could see her own skull. Then she realized why there was a wet sound ringing in her ears last night, and she began screaming.
Okay, so this is not really part 2, but I'll be talking about more sightings of Marilyn's ghost. Did you guys know that she's seen not only at the Roosevelt Hotel, but all over Hollywood? That's her land. There's been reports of sightings at the Hollywood sign, yes. Though many people believe it's actually the ghost of Peg Entwistle, but others swear that was Marilyn. Paranormal investigators believe that the reason why so many people see her ghost is because she hasn't moved on. And I guess if you're a fan, you'd understand why. I can talk about it here, but yeah. She's also been seen at the pool at the Roosevelt Hotel. In the hallways, like I said, in mirrors, not just that one mirror. Of course, that one is where I see her the most. There's also some very weird photographs that were taken at her home, like this one. This one, like, look at this. The scariest one though, well, not scary, but I swear that looks just like Marilyn. Check it out. It's this one right here. Let me zoom in. You see it? Doesn't that look just like her? TikToker Jasmine Chiswell. Sorry for mispronouncing her name, but she said she's had so many paranormal experiences and still has them to this day. She lives at Marilyn's old house, as most of you know, and you should definitely check out her TikTok for more info. She has more detailed videos about her experiences. But yeah, what do you guys think? I would love to see Marilyn's ghost, to be honest. If you like spooky things, follow and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more.
There's kids in here. Like, who's up here? Who's up? We're ripping down ceiling fans, running through walls, shooting BB. Did they know we were there?
That's probably not the crew I should hang out with. I know that sounds crazy coming from me, but this particular crew was significantly worse than my other crews. For some reason this summer, we were into breaking into abandoned buildings. I don't know why. I must have been in 7th grade. We only did it like 4 or 5 times. It was like half of an office, half like a city council building. It was massive. It was only 4 stories, but it was multiple buildings attached to each other. I would say that there was like 40 office spaces in here. There was 60 cubicles in each one. So when we figured out that we could shimmy up one of the sewage poles onto this little ledge and kick in the window and slip into the building, and then we have access to a building that's under construction, there was no electronics left in it, but all of the cubicles were in there, all the desks, all the chairs, and it wasn't dirty or dangerous. There was still nice carpet on the floor. First time we get in, we're just mapping it out. We're seeing, what can we do in here? There's conference rooms, banquet rooms. It was like a Call of Duty map. The opportunity to have a BB war in here, we can't pass up. Go to Dick's Sporting Goods. We're a bunch of rascals, dude. Some of us bought some. Most of us were just ripping open the plastic things and just shoving BB down our pants. We're running 8 on 8. We literally played team matches. We do it for like 6 hours. One of the best experiences of my life. We would try to keep it on one story. We're gonna be on the 3rd floor. You guys start on this end, we start on this end. Wasn't just a straight line. We'd go through bathrooms, go through office rooms, and we would flank people. You'd get behind people. First day, so fun. 2nd day, so fun. 3rd day, it's getting a little boring because we've done it for 2 days. What could spice this up a little bit? We realized we could throw over a table. Oh, they're camping in there. Take the office chair, throw it through the door. So we're just getting a little bit crazier as the day goes.
Reckless.
Diversion. Somebody jump up and pull down one of the lights. Whip it this way. Now we're starting to get a little destructive, but it's getting more fun.
Now this is a strange one. A couple of fishermen spotted a mysterious luminous object in Bridge Surf Beach in Puerto Rico recently. Check this out.
Mira, prendí y apagó. Hay una boya allí.
They approach the mysterious light in hopes of figuring out what it is, but the more they approach it, the more mysterious it becomes. They notice how it keeps blinking on and off for some reason, and then they approach it a little more, and this is what happens.
No acercarme mucho. Wow, mira eso.
They follow this mysterious light for a few more minutes, and what happens next baffles the fishermen entirely. Check this out.
En el puente y está la boya, era la boya. El puente está a mano izquierda, Era eso, mira.
A humanoid being can be seen walking very fast next to the luminous object. At a certain moment, they actually capture its glowing eyes. Check this out.
Mira eso. Hay algo ahí. Mira algo ahí. Míralo. Yo no sé qué carajo es eso. Dale para atrás. Yo no quiero saber. Dale.
Sometimes true for stranger non-fiction. The case of Richard Trenton Chase is a story which even the most depraved horror writer would struggle to create. Over the course of 4 weeks spanning across 1977 and 1978, Richard Chase took the lives of 6 innocent victims in Sacramento, California. His murders gradually progressed in violence, beginning with drive-by shootings and culminating in acts of cannibalism.
Someone snaps their fingers outside my window every night at 3 a.m. The neighbors warned me not to look at him. I heard it my first night in the new house. Someone walking down the street and snapping their fingers with both hands in the middle of the night. Shit. I had forgotten to close my curtains. Earlier that day, an older couple came over with a saran-wrapped plate of muffins and a warning. They told me that every night at 3 a.m., someone walks outside the house and snaps his fingers. They said that I should never, under any circumstances, look at the man. If I did, I would sorely regret it. When I asked them what happened if you looked at him, they didn't say a word. Instead, they just looked at each other, and the husband shook his head. Now I was in my room and the snapping man was on his way. I was just about to get out of bed and shut the curtains when suddenly the next snap came from right outside the bedroom window. I let out a startled cry. The house was a good 20 feet from the public sidewalk and separated by a garden gate and then a row of bushes. Somehow he had cleared that distance in less than a second. I covered my face with the pillow and curled up into a ball. A whispered prayer escaped my lips, and I hoped that God was stronger than whatever was outside. The thing started walking back and forth, going just past my house each time. His snapping started out slow and rhythmic but got faster and faster each time until it reached a feverish speed. As they sped up, the snaps grew louder, much louder than any sound a human snap could make, to the point that they rattled the window glass in its pain and drowned out every other sound. I began to shake, and shouted for Jesus to protect me. Part of me wanted desperately to jump out of bed and face whatever monster was outside, but I thought back to my neighbor's visit and resisted the urge. It wasn't even their warning that persuaded me, it was the look on their faces when I asked what happened to those who chose to look. They both turned white as ghosts, like the blood had been drained from their heads, and their faces twisted in nauseating fear at the memory of neighbors who hadn't heeded their warnings. It was the kind of instant animal reaction that you cannot hide even when you try, so I knew that whatever happened to those who looked, it had to be terrifying. Even so, it was difficult to lie there defenseless in bed while the snaps grew so loud that I thought my eardrums might burst. I tried stuffing the corners of my pillow down my ears, but it did nothing to quiet the incessant roar. Then there was silence. The noise stopped so suddenly that it was almost startling. From outside, a gravely reptilian voice said, not in a whisper but in a low and quiet tone, "Good night." Footsteps went away from the window and back up the road in the direction they came. It wasn't until the footsteps trailed off that I noticed the sound of someone crying. After a moment, I realized it was me. I was crying, no, sobbing uncontrollably. The experience had been absolutely terrible and frightening in a way I cannot put into words. The worst part was that the louder the snaps got, the more I wanted to look at who was doing them. It wasn't just a morbid curiosity, it was almost as if the sound was beckoning me, like an audible angler fish was inviting me into its razor-filled jaws. I got up without opening my eyes and shut the window curtains. It took 4 more hours to fall asleep, and even then only because the sun was starting to rise and the world felt safe again. After a while I developed certain strategies for coping with my nightly visitor. At first I tried putting earplugs in before going to bed, but that didn't do anything to cover up the sound of the snapping. Worse still, the goodbye at the end was always as clear as if I had my ear up against the wall. I asked around, and some people in the neighborhood let me know that you could help drown out the noise by leaving a fan on through the night. It sounded dumb at first, but I was desperate enough to try anything at that point and, sure enough, it worked. The snapping was still loud, but endurable, and after a week I was sleeping through the whole thing. In order to make sure I never accidentally looked out the window, I tied the curtains shut and put a box over the sill for an added layer of protection. I also constructed a wall of cardboard around the corner of my bed closest to the window so that if I happened to look over there in the middle of the night and the box had in some way fallen off and the curtains were somehow open, I still wouldn't see him. I even put tripwire in front of the window so that if I were to try and unblock the window in my sleep I would fall over and wake up. I know, it's a lot of precautionary stuff, but what would you do in my situation? I was determined to not be like one of those dumbasses in scary movies who know there's an imminent threat and just keeps going about things as usual, and when the monster gets them everyone in the audience thinks I told you so. Fuck that. Once I fine-tuned my nighttime defense strategies, my life started getting back to normal. I joined a book club, settled into my new job, and even became friends with a couple coworkers. One was a goofy guy named Tyler who's stupid in a fun to be around kind of way, and the other was a beautiful girl I was flirting with named Amanda. Everything was going great until I had the dumb idea to invite both of them over for a little party at my place. We started off with board games, pizza, and beer, then more beer, then some pizza, and finally some more beer. At one point Tyler got up to use the pisser as he put it, and I seized the opportunity to capitalize on the liquid courage I had in my system and make a move on Amanda. I was just building up to it when Tyler shouted out,